Hi, so welcome back to Real Auto Reports right here at Real Auto Ranch. I'm Jonathan McGrew, and today we have the Real First Impressions video edition on this 2014 Mazda MX-5 Miata. And this is a pretty cool one because it is the retractable hardtop in the Grand Touring package. And we'll tell you what all that means from a first impressions perspective, so let's jump in. All right, so from the front for 2014, I think some people who are Miata fans would know that in 13, this got a modest facelift up here in the front, making it a little bit more aggressive, giving it a little bit different personality from when this generation was introduced several years ago now. It's been through its mid-cycle refresh, and we hear that the new completely redesigned Miata will come out in 2014, will be unveiled later this year in the fall, probably the September timeframe. So definitely this vehicle is coming to the end of this look and design, but notice some neat things about this vehicle, these kickouts over the wheel arches, these nice fender flares. You have the lovely curve here of the hood that's ingrained into the design of the front nose here, this front nose cone. This really goes back to the original Miata. It looks more and more like the 90 than kind of that middle generation from 97 to the mid-2000s. So this is a nice look here. You have your high intensity discharge headlights, large badging of course, and what you can see here is you've got some additional design cues like the black gloss plastic here and then the little ground effects kits there, some of that being for the sports suspension and all of that packaging that they do. You've got your little bulge here, and what you can't see in the film really is that there's the bulge in the bonnet, and then there's actually another kind of impression lip here that they do for a detailed design. What I love about how the Miata has evolved over the years is it's gotten more and more detailed. The body's gotten more interesting over the years. Let's go take a look at the side and you'll see how all of this plays in a car that you could almost pick up and put in your pocket. Okay, so from the side, again, you can see how the Miata really from over the generations has gotten a more and more detailed body design. Look at how you have this slight lip here in the rear fender over the rear arch here. It kicks out. You have some beautiful upper lines here in the back lid for this hardtop convertible. You have a hardtop that retracts right back here in front of the trunk, and what's great about it is when the top is down it does not affect your rear trunk room, which is great. The other thing about it is that this is a really small hardtop. They managed to make the mechanism in a small fashion so it does drop very quickly, and we'll show you that in our real video, the real review, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But the other thing that makes this car livable then across all the different climates is that you have a glass back window with defroster, and you have more sound deadening in this retractable hardtop, but you're not losing the beauty of the car, and you have this lovely lift at the back like you used to in the old British cars, giving you plenty of headroom inside even for someone of my height. Now you get into the 6'3", 4', 6'6" type of area and you're definitely going to have some issues with legroom and headroom because I am pretty much at the upper end of who can fit comfortably into one of these small sports cars. But it does have great door openings. You have touch locks on the handle now, this lovely chrome accent with the body colored handles. It's a beautiful car. It may not be super technological, but it will be a lot of fun out on the twisties. Also notice the lovely aluminum alloy wheels here. These are newer. These were introduced in 2013, and I think it comes together to have a lovely package. One of the things that is interesting about these Miatas is you'll notice they don't have a strong beltline detail. They have just this lovely edge that starts kind of right here on the door. It's flat actually right here at the top of the door, and otherwise it's got this lovely soft curve down the side, something you don't see on a lot of vehicles anymore. The Miata really still stands out in the landscape of today's driving environment. Let's go take a look at the back. We'll look inside and under the hood and of course take it out on the road. All right, so from the back, you know, this is going to be the least detailed area of the car, but over the years, the taillight configuration has changed. We still gain these round areas like we did in the first generation in 1990. You have some lovely dimensional rear taillights here, and on the side here, you'll have your side reflectors. It's all gotten incorporated in very nicely. You have your rear antenna here for your satellite radio, and then what I like is that the third brake light here is built into this rear deck lid that lifts up for the retractable hardtop. It is pretty nice, of course, pretty much the same key slot that you've had for a long time, but now you have with the smart key and the well, it's not push button to start, it's twist to start, and I'll show you that later, but you do have the button touch to open the rear trunk, which is nice because in a lot of generations there was not a trunk release. I like this vehicle a lot. I like that they included dual exhaust in the last couple years, well, in this last generation, I really should say, because it makes this vehicle really seem like a nice high-end sports car, even though you're only paying at the top end with the sports suspension package, a little bit over $32,000 MSRP is tested. So the back is nice. The trunk room, well, it's a Miata. You're not expecting a whole heck of a lot, are you? But what I like is that it has an inset in the bottom of the trunk, and that's great for laptops and such things, bags like that, that you don't want to be sliding side to side to side in the car. So you can use that to your advantage. And I suspect there are companies even still today that are making luggage kits that fit specifically in Miata trunks so you can maximize the space. Let's go take a look inside and see what they've done there. All right, so from the driver's seat here, what you'll notice is that this is a pretty nice interior, although as I look at it, there are things that from a first impressions I noticed right away, like all of the plastic that is in this vehicle, and that's kind of a price point issue, even though it is the higher end version of the Miata. But you will find soft touch on the doors and accent stitching and leather-like materials, vinyl leather materials, the leather-wrapped wheel, all the controls across the wheel, easy to read and big and nice gauges in a traditional sports car placement. There really isn't a whole lot of trip computer stuff on this. There is a mile per gallon, 8 trips, trip A and B, and then the temperature, and you do that with the info button, but that's really about it. There's no navigation, still sound by Bose. You have speakers between the seats, which is great. A lot more storage than in previous, generations in the early 2000s, like the one we also had in our family besides the 90. You do have a nice glove box, nice console here with 2 cup holders, 2 bottle holders, or I guess you could put a can in the doors, and it has traction control and a lot of neat features. The leather seats, and these seats are heated with a 5-dial or 5-setting heated seat. So a lot in this vehicle. And the other thing that people who had the first generation will love is that it is a tilt wheel that goes up and down, which allows you to adjust it for your height, which you couldn't do in the first generation in 1990. So still some improvements in these cars that they've come along. And the other thing I noticed from a first impression is that these visors are plastic, but what's interesting about them is that they fit and sculpt right into the upper part of the windshield here, which in some ways is really nice because they're not hanging down, distracting your vision like they would have in older generations. So kind of neat there, and you also don't have to worry about them with the hardtop. Let's take a look under the hood and see what powers this flying Miata. So under the hood here, what you're going to find is the 2-liter inline-4 Mazda engine, and this is a great motor. It puts out a good amount of power. We'll flash the specs up here along the bottom of the screen, but what you need to know is that it's mated to a 6-speed manual transmission with a short throw. It has a nice clutch in my first impressions opinion, and it is a short throw that has really not been matched by a lot of other manufacturers. The Miata has been known for that gearbox and how crisp it is to shift through. You're going to see about 21 miles per gallon in town and about 28 out on the freeway, with a 24 mile per gallon combined coming out of this manual transmission. Now you can also get an automatic transmission as well. It'll add just a hair, a little bit of weight, because these vehicles are right almost 2,600 pounds with the manual, 25 MX-5 and some, and then they're just over 2,600 pounds when they have the automatic transmission. Now, I am a diehard and I love the manual in this vehicle. I love that reverse is up and to the front now, so you can't actually get it confused with 6 gear like you could on older generations back in the day. But I tell you what, that this is a vehicle that is fun to drive. You can heel toe downshift it. You can hear the motor with that dual exhaust. And so under the hood, this is exactly what Miata fans would expect to find, because to be honest, it really just hasn't changed that much over the last few years. So all good under the hood. Let's go take it for a spin and we'll give you our first impression driving impressions with the sports suspension package. And that is always a test, because sometimes they're stiff and sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're too stiff and sometimes we just don't like them. But the Miata might surprise us, so let's go check it out. All right, so here we are in this 2014 Mazda MX-5 Miata. And as I said, this is the Grand Touring. It has the sports suspension package. It is pretty much the top of the line vehicle that you can get. And with the retractable hardtop, it makes it very nice for those areas that have inclement weather. And so that is Colorado indeed, although it is pretty nice today. We do have the threat of thunderstorms. And what you're going to see with this vehicle in particular is how flexible it can be from a sports car. So what we have, just to kind of set up the layout here, is about $32,000 is tested in an MSRP. You have the stock, standard, what you would expect from Miata inline 4 engine with this fantastic 6-speed manual short throw gearbox. It is lovely. The clutch is intelligible. You can figure this vehicle out very quickly right when you get in. The name of the Miata game has always been simplicity, and this vehicle does not overcomplicate anything. It has crisp shifts, and you can really get going quickly and have a lot of fun. All right, so that's the Real First Impressions video edition of this 2014 Mazda Miata, or MX-5 for the diehards out there. This is a pretty neat and, well, one of the best still small sports convertibles. And with the retractable hardtop in climates like the Rocky Mountains here, it's going to be one of those few affordable options in a great looking race car-like vehicle that you can buy for just over $32,000 MSRP, which I think is pretty incredible. The Miata has a long lineage here in the States, 1990 being the first model year, and it hit the scene, and it has been one of the most popular two-door sports cars on the market ever since. It's had some good years and it's had some better years, and this is a pretty good year right here from a first impressions perspective. I still like this vehicle a lot, and I think it gives a lot to the sports car driver. It is this generation's MG still, if you're familiar with those small British sports cars or a Triumph or any of those, and it's great value for the money. So with that, we have to do our real video, the real review with all the details, but for now know that the first impressions of this last model year of this body style, remember the new one's going to be unveiled later this year in 2014, we think this is a pretty good buy, but for those of you who are on the fence, you might just have to wait to buy one until you see what they come out with next. We'll give you the full details in the real video. Stay tuned. I'm Jonathan McGrew. This is Real Auto Reports, and we'll see you down the road.